So, hello and welcome back yet again to our final chapter of the week. And it looks like it's a good long one, so cozy up and sit down. I took a whole day off of reading yesterday because I had another dentist appointment, which went really well. I should be getting my permanent smile sometime in the next couple of months. They took the impressions. It was disgusting. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend biting on any sort of plaster, but you know what? It's for a cause. It was really gross. Fun tip that the dental tech gave me is if you ever have to make impressions and you have a weak gag reflex, which I don't, but this was kind of excessive. Um, Breathe through your nose and lift up both of your feet off of the dental chair because tightening up your core suppresses your gag reflex. Things that you never knew that now you do. Anyway, we are jumping back into Ivanhoe, and I think we left with maybe the threat for poor Rowena of defilement. We'll just go with defilement. That's a good way to put that. If she doesn't marry this idiot. And I don't know if we're going to go, it looks like we might be going in with Rebecca, who probably has the exact same threat because that seems to be the one threat that these guys know how to do. Uh, but that is where we are. We are going to be beginning with a very short quote from Douglas. That's all it says is Douglas. And yeah, let's see what Douglas has to say, and then we will jump back into Ivanhoe. I'll woo her as the lion woos his bride. Douglas. Douglas? That was all I could think of to do that. All right. We are going to now jump back into Ivanhoe by Sir Walter Scott, who is a Scottishman, I've been informed, with chapter 24 of Ivanhoe. Well, the scenes we have described were passing in other parts of the castle. Rebecca awaited her fate in a distant, sequestered turret. She had been led there by two of her disguised ravishers, and on being thrust into the little cell, she found herself in the presence of an old sibyl who kept murmuring to herself a Saxon rhyme, as if to beat time to the revolting dance which her spindle was performing on the floor. This hag raised her head as Rebecca entered and scowled at the beautiful girl with the malignant envy with which old age and ugliness, when united with evil, are apt to look upon youth and beauty. "Thou must up and away, old house cricket," said one of. Uh, Pretend that was a male voice. "Thou must up and away, old house cricket," said one of the men. "Our noble master commands it. Thou must leave this chamber to a fairer woman." "Ay," grumbled the hag, "even thus is service requited. I have known when my bare word would have cast the best manner at arms among ye out of the saddle and out of service, and now I must leave at the command of every groom such as you." "Good Dame Urfried," said the other man, "stand not to reason, but up and away. Lords must be listened to with a quick ear. You had your day, old woman, but the sun has long been set. You are now the very emblem of an old war horse turned out to the barren heath. You had your paces in your time. Now a broken trot is the best that you can do. Come on, amble off." "Ill omens dog ye both," said the old woman, "and a kennel be your burying place. May the evil demon Zenbach tear me limb from limb if I leave my own cell before I've spun out the hemp on my distaff." "Answer to our lord, then, old house fiend," said the man, and he left, leaving Rebecca in the company with the old woman, upon whose presence she had been unwillingly forced. "What devil's deed have they now in the wind?" said the old hag, speaking to herself, yet from time to time casting a sidelong, malignant glance at Rebecca. "But it is easy to guess. Bright eyes, black hair, skin like paper, ere the priest stains it with his ink. Aye, it's easy to guess why they send her to this lonely turret, where a scream could no more be heard than at the depth of 500 fathoms below the earth. You will have owls for your neighbors, fair one, and find their screams will be heard as far and as much regarded as yours will. Outlandish, too," she said, marking the dress and the turban of Rebecca. "What country are you from? A Saracen? An Egyptian? Why don't you answer me? You can weep, can you not speak?" "Be not angry with me, good mother," said Rebecca. "You need say no more. Men know a fox, and men also know a Jew by her speech." "For the sake of mercy," said Rebecca, "tell me what I am to expect as the conclusion of the violence which has dragged me here. Is it my life they speak? To atone for my religion? I'll happily give it up." "Thy life?" said the Sibyl. "What would taking your life give them pleasure? Trust me, your life is not in peril. Such usage shall thou have as was once thought good enough for a noble Saxon maiden. And shall a Jewish girl like you repine because you have no better? Look at me. I was as young and twice as beautiful as you when Fondeboeuf, father of this Reginald and his Normans, stormed the castle. My father had 7 sons to defend their inheritance from story to story, from chamber to chamber. There was not a room, not a step of the stair that was not slick with their blood. They died. They died, every man of them. And before their bodies were cold, before their blood had dried, I had become the prey and the scorn of the conqueror." "Is there no help? Is there no way to escape?" said Rebecca. "Richly, richly I would requite thine aid." "Don't think about it," said the hag. "From here there is no escape but death. And it is late, late," she said, shaking her head, "before those gates open to us. Yet it is a comfort to think that we will leave behind us on earth those who will be as wretched as we are. Fare thee well, young lady. Jew or Gentile, your fate would be the same, for thou hast to do with them that have neither scruple or pity. Fare thee well, I say. My thread is spun, but yours is about to begin." "Stay, please stay, for heaven's sake," said Rebecca. "Stay, though it even be to curse and revile me. Your presence is some protection." "The presence of the Mother of God would be no protection," said the woman. "There she is," she said, pointing to a rude image of the Virgin. "See if she can help the fate that's waiting for you." She left the room as she spoke. Her features writhed into a sort of sneering laughter, which made them seem even more hideous than the frown. She locked the door behind her, and Rebecca might hear her curse every step for its steepness as slowly, difficultly, she descended to the turret stair. Rebecca was now to expect a fate even more dreadful than that of Rowena. For what probability was there that either softness or ceremony would be used towards one of her race, whatever shadow of these might be preserved towards a Saxon heiress? Yet Rebecca had this advantage. She was better prepared by habits of thought and natural strength of mind to encounter the dangers to which she was now exposed. Of a strong and observing character, even from her youngest years, with the pomp and the wealth which her father displayed on his walls, or which she witnessed in the houses of other wealthy friends, had not been able to blind her to the precarious circumstances under which those wealth and beauty were enjoyed. Like Damocles at his celebrated banquet, Rebecca perpetually beheld amongst the glorious display the sword which was over the heads of her people, hung by one single hair. These reflections had tamed and brought down to a pitch of sounder judgment a temper which, under other circumstances, might have been haughty, supercilious, and obstinate. From her father's example and injunction, Rebecca had learned to bear herself courteously towards all who approached her. She could not indeed imitate his excess of subservient, because she was a stranger to the meanness of mind and to the constant state of timid apprehension by which it was dictated. But she bore herself with a proud humility, as if submitting to the evil circumstances in which she was placed as the daughter of a despised race, while she felt in her mind the consciousness that she was entitled to hold a higher rank from merit than the arbitrary despotism of religious prejudice let her aspire to. That was a very confusing sentence. Thus prepared to expect adverse circumstances, she had acquired the firmness necessary for acting. Her present situation required all of her presence of mind, and she summoned it up accordingly. Her first care was to inspect the apartment, but it afforded few hopes of either escape or protection. It contained neither secret passages or trapdoors, and unless where the door by which she had entered joined the main building, seemed to be circumcised by its round exterior wall of turret. The door had no inside bolt or bar, and the single window opened upon an embattled space surmounting the turret, which gave Rebecca at first sight some hopes of escape, but she soon found it had no communication with any other part of the battlements, being an isolated barzetin, or balcony, secured as usual by a parapet, which with embashures, at which a few archers might be stationed for defending the turret, and flanking with their shots the wall of the castle along that side. So there was no hope. No hope but passive fortitude, and in that, strong reliance on heaven natural to great and generous characters. Rebecca, however, erroneously taught to interpret the promises of Scripture to the chosen people of heaven, did not err in supposing that now was the hour of their trial, or in trusting that the children of Zion would one day be called, in which the fullness of the Gentiles would be given. In the meanwhile, all around her showed that their present state was that of punishment and prohibition, and it was their duty to suffer and not sin. Thus prepared to consider herself as the victim of misfortune, Rebecca had early reflected upon her own state and schooled her mind to meet the danger with which she was probably about to encounter. She trembled, though, and changed color when a step was heard on the stair and the door of the turret chamber opened, and a tall man, dressed as one of those bandits to which they owed their misfortunes, slowly entered and shut the door behind him. His hat, pulled down on his brows, concealed the top of his face, and he held his mantle in such a manner as to muffle the rest of his face. In this guise, as if prepared for the execution of some misdeed, at the thought of which he was maybe ashamed, he stood in front of the frightened prisoner. Yet, ruffian as his dress bespoke him, he seemed at a loss to express what purpose had brought him there, so that Rebecca, making an effort, had time to anticipate any explanation. She had already unclasped two costly bracelets and a necklace, which she hastened to offer to the supposed outlaw, concluding naturally that to gratify his avarice would bespeak him favorably. Take these, she said. Please, good friend, and for God's sake, be merciful to me and my aged father. These ornaments are of value, yet they are trifling to what we would bestow to obtain our freedom from this castle. Fair flower of Palestine, said the outlaw, these pearls are orient, but they yield in whiteness to your teeth, and the diamonds brilliant, but they cannot match your eyes. And ever since I have taken up this wild trade, I have made a vow to prefer beauty to wealth. Oh, don't do yourself such a wrong, said Rebecca. Take the ransom and have mercy. Gold will purchase you pleasure. To misuse us would only bring you remorse. My father will willingly satiate your utmost desires, and if you act wisely, you may purchase with our money some restoration to civil society. Maybe you could obtain pardon for your past errors and be placed beyond the necessity of committing any more crime. It's well spoken, said the outlaw in French, finding it difficult, possibly, to sustain in Saxton a conversation which Rebecca had opened. But know this, bright lily of the Val of Baca, your father is already in the hands of a powerful alchemist who knows how to convert into gold and silver even the rusty bars of a dungeon. The venerable Isaac is subjected to an alembic which will distill from him all that he holds dear without any assistance from my requests or your entreaty. Your ransom must be paid by love and beauty. No other coin will I accept. You are not an outlaw, said Rebecca, in the same French with which he addressed her. No outlaw has refused such offers. No outlaw in this land uses the dialect in which you have spoken. You're not an outlaw, you're a Norman. A Norman noble, perhaps. Oh, be so in your actions. Cast off this mask. If you could willingly guess so truly, said Brian de Bois Guilbert, dropping the mantle from his face. Are you not a true daughter of Israel, but all save youth and beauty? You are actually the witch of Endor. Fine, I'm not an outlaw, fair Rose of Sharon, and I am one who will be more prompt to hang your neck and arms with pearls and diamonds which will look so good on them than to deprive you of your ornament. What would you have of me, said Rebecca, if not my wealth? We have nothing in common between us. You're a Christian, I am Jewish. Our union is contrary to the laws of church and synagogue alike. That's true, said the Templar with a laugh. Wed a Jew? Desperado. Not if she were the Queen of Sheba. And know besides, sweet daughter of Zion, that were the most Christian king to offer me his most Christian daughter, with Languedoc for a dowry, I could not wed her. It's against my vow to love any maiden. Otherwise than par amour will I love you. I'm a Templar. Behold the cross of my order. Darest you appeal to it? Said Rebecca. And on occasion like now? If I do so, said the Templar, it is of no concern. You are not a believer to the blessed signs of our salvation. I believe as my fathers taught me, said Rebecca, and may God forgive my belief if it's erroneous. But you, Sir Knight, what is yours? When you appeal without scruple to that which you deem most holy, even while you are about to transgress against the most solemn of your vows as a knight and man of religion. That was gravely and well preached, daughter of Sirach, said the Templar. But, gentle ecclesiastica, your narrow prejudices make you blind to our high privilege. Marriage is an enduring crime on that part of a Templar. But what lesser folly I may practice, I will speedily be absolved of at the next preceptory of our order. Not the wisest of monarchs, not his father, whose examples you must need allow are weighty, claimed wider privileges than we poor soldiers of the Temple of Zion have won by our zeal in its defense. The protectors of Solomon's temple may claim license by the example of Solomon. If you read the scripture, said Rebecca, and the lives of the saints only to justify your own license, your crime is like that of him who extracts poison from the most healthy and necessary of herbs. The eyes of the Templar flashed fire at this reproof. Listen, he said. Rebecca, I have before now spoken mildly to you, but now my language shall be that of a conqueror. You are now the captive of my bow and spear, subject to my will by the laws of all nations, nor will I abate an inch of my right, or abstain from taking by violence what you refuse by entreaty. Stand back, said Rebecca. Stand back and hear me before you offer to commit a sin so deadly. My strength you may indeed overpower, for God has made women weak and trusted their defense to men's generosity. But I will proclaim your villainy, Templar, from one end of Europe to the other. I will owe to the superstition of your brethren what compassion might refuse me. Each preceptory, each chapter of your order shall learn that, like a heretic, you have sinned with a Jew. Those who tremble not at your crime will hold you accursed for having so far dishonored the cross that you followed a daughter of my people. You're witty, Jew, said the Templar, well aware of the truth of what she said, and that the rules of his order condemned in the most positive manner and under high penalties such intrigues as he was now thinking about doing, and that in some instances even degradation had followed upon it. You're quite smart, he said, but loud must be thy voice of complaint if it can be heard beyond the iron walls of this castle. Within these walls, murmurs, laments, appeals to justice, and screams for help alike die away. One thing only can save you, Rebecca. Submit to your fate. Embrace our religion, and you will go forth in such state that many a Norman lady shall yield as well in pomp as in beauty to the favorite of the best lance among the defenders of the temple. That's him. Submit to my fate, said Rebecca. And sacred heaven, to what fate? Embrace your religion? What religion can it be that harbors such villainy? You, the best lance of the Templars? Craven knight, forsworn peace, I spit on you and I defy you. The God of Abraham's promise has opened an escape to his daughter, even from this abyss of infamy. And as she said that, she threw open the latticed window which led to the barrizon, and in an instant after stood on the very edge of the parapet, and with not the slightest screen between her and the depths below. Unprepared for such a desperate effort, for she had before now been perfectly motionless, de Bois Guilbert had neither time to grab or stop her. As he offered to advance on her, she said, Remain where you are, proud Templar, or advance. Advance 1 foot nearer, and I will plunge from the precipice. My body will be crushed out of the very form of humanity upon those stones of the courtyard before I will let you victimize me. As she said this, she clasped her hands and extended them towards heaven as if imploring mercy upon her soul before taking the final plunge. The Templar hesitated, and a resolution which had never yielded to pity or distress gave way to his admiration of her strength. Come down, rash girl. I swear by earth and sea and sky, I offer you no offense. I'm not going to trust you, said Rebecca. You have taught me better how to estimate the virtues of your order. The next presbytery would grant you absolution for an oath the keeping of which concerned nothing but the honor or dishonor of a miserable Jewish maiden. You do me an injustice, said the Templar. I swear to you by the name that I bear, by the cross on my bosom and the sword by my side, by the ancient crest of all my fathers do I swear, I will do you no injury whatsoever. If not for yourself, for your father's sake. Don't jump. I will be his friend, and in this castle he's going to need friends. Alas, said Rebecca, I know this too well. Dare I trust you? May my arms be reversed and my name forever dishonored, said Brian de Bois Guilbert, if you will have reason to complain of me. Many a law, many a commandment have I broken, but I've never broken my word. I'll trust you, said Rebecca, this far. And she descended from the edge of the battlement, but remained standing close by one of the embashures, or Malicours, as they were then called. Here, she said, I take my stand. Remain where you are, and if you will attempt to diminish by one step the distance between us, you will see the Jewish maiden would rather trust her soul to God than her honor to you. When Rebecca spoke thus, her high and firm resolve, which corresponded so well with the expressive beauty of her face, gave to her looks, the air and manner, a dignity that seemed more than mortal. Her glance did not quail, her cheek did not pale, not for fear of a fate so instant and so horrible. On the contrary, the thought that she had her fate at her command, that she could escape at will from infamy to death, gave a deeper color of a carnation to her complexion, and yet more brilliant fire to her eyes. Bois Guilbert, proud himself and high-spirited, thought he had never seen beauty so animated and commanding. Let there be peace between us, Rebecca, he said. Fine. Peace, said Rebecca. Peace, but with this much space between us. You don't have to fear me, he told her. I don't, she said. Thanks to him that reared this dizzy tower so high that nothing could fall from it and live. Thanks to him and to the God of Israel, I fear you not. You do me an injustice, said the Templar. By earth, sea, and sky, you do me injustice. I am not naturally that which you have seen me. I am not hard, selfish, and relentless. It was women that taught me cruelty, and on women, therefore, have I exercised it, but not upon such as you. Hear me, Rebecca. Never did knight take lance in his hand with a heart more devoted to the lady of his love than Brian de Bois Guilbert. Her, the daughter of a petty baron who boasted for all his domains, but a ruinous tower and an unproductive vineyard, a few leagues of the baron of the Landes of Bordeaux. Her name was known there, whatever deeds of arms were done, known wider than that of many a lady that had a country for a dowry. But, he told her, pacing up and down, with an animation that he seemed to lose all danger of sense of Rebecca's being able to jump. Yes. Yes, my deeds, my danger, and my blood made the name Adelaine de Montmartre known from the court of Castile the Byzantine. And how did I get repaid? When I returned with my dear-bought honors, purchased by blood and toil, I found her wedded to a Gascon squire, whose name had never been heard beyond the limits of his own paltry house. I did truly love her, and bitterly did I revenge me of her broken faith, but my vengeance has recoiled in on me since the day that I have separated myself from that life, from those ties. My manhood must know no domestic home, must be soothed by no affectionate wife. My age will know no kindly hearth, my grave will be solitary, and no offspring must outlive me, to bear the ancient name of Bois Guilbert. At the feet of my superior, I have laid down the right of self-action, the privilege of independence. The Templar, a serf in all but name, can possess neither land nor goods, and lives, moves, and breathes at the will and pleasure of the church. What advantage would compensate such sacrifice? Said Rebecca. Vengeance, said the Templar, and the prospects of ambition. An evil recompense, said Rebecca, for the surrender of the rights which are dearest to all men. Don't say that, said the Templar. Revenge is a feast for the gods, and if they have reserved it, as priests tell us to themselves, it is because they hold in it an enjoyment too precious for the possession of mere mortal men. And ambition, it is a temptation which could disturb even the bliss of heaven. He paused and then said, Rebecca, you who could prefer death to dishonor must have a proud, powerful soul. You must be mine. No, don't move, he said. It must be with your consent and on your terms. You must consent to share with me hopes more extended than can be viewed from the throne of a monarch. Hear me out before you answer, and judge before you refuse. The Templar loses, you have said, his social rights, his power of free agency, but he becomes a member and a limb of a mighty body, before which thrones are already trembling, even as a single drop of rain which mixes with the sea becomes an individual part of a relentless ocean. That was a word and a half. I should not have stumbled over it. He becomes member and limb of a mighty body. A single drop of rain mixes with the sea, becomes an individual part of that restless ocean which undermines rocks and impedes royal armadas. Such a swelling flood is that powerful league. Of this mighty order, I am not merely a member, but already one of their chief commanders, and I may well aspire to one day hold the baton of Grand Master. The poor soldiers of the temple will not alone place their foot upon the necks of kings. A hemp-sandaled monk can do that. Our mailed steps shall ascend their throne, our gauntlets shall wrench the scepter from them. Not the reign of your vainly executed Messiah. Not that will offer such power to your tribes as my ambition. That's what I aim. I've sought a kindred spirit to share it with, and I've found it in you. How can you say that to one of my people? Said Rebecca. Think! Don't answer me, said the Templar, by urging the differences of our creed. Within our secret conclaves, we hold these nursery tales in derision. Think not we long remain blind to the idiot folly of our founders, who forswore every delight of life for the pleasures of dying martyrs by hunger, thirst, and pestilence, or by the swords of savages, while they vainly strove to defend a barren desert that was valuable only to the superstitious. My order soon adopted bolder, wider views, and found out a better identification for our sacrifices. Our possessions in every kingdom of Europe, our high military fame, which brings within our circle the flower of chivalry from every Christian climate, these are dedicated to the ends of which our pious founders barely dreamed, and which equally are concealed from such weak spirits as embrace our order on ancient principle, and whose superstition makes them our tools. But I will not further withdraw the veil of our mysteries. That bugle sound announces something which might require my presence. Think about what I have said. Farewell. I do not say forgive me the violence I threatened, for it was necessary to the display of your character. Gold, after all, could only be known by the application of the touchstone. I'll be back soon, and converse with you some more. He then re-entered the turret chamber and descended the stair, leaving Rebecca scarcely more terrified at the prospect of the death to which she had been so lately exposed than at the ambition of the bold man whose power she was unhappily placed in. When she entered the turret chamber, her first duty was to give thanks to the God of Jacob for the protection that he had afforded her, and to implore its continued protection for both her and her father. Another name, though, glided into her prayers. It was that of the wounded Christian who fate had placed in the hands of the bloodthirsty men who were his enemies. Her heart, indeed, checked her, as if, even in communing with her deity in prayer, she mingled in her devotions the recollections of one whose fate hers could have no alliance with. He was a Nazarene, an enemy to her fate, but the prayer had already been breathed, nor could all of the narrow prejudices of her people induce Rebecca to wish the prayer recalled. And that was the end of chapter 24. I feel like I flubbed it in a couple spots, but oh my gosh, that was a good chapter. I like Rebecca. I don't know who I would cast to play her in the movie Ivanhoe. Somebody strong and witty. Obviously beautiful. If you could cast the movie Ivanhoe from all actors, present, past, I was going to say in future, but we don't know who the future would be. Who would you cast as Rebecca? I don't know if Rebecca would be a tall or short person, but I'm thinking Katharine Hepburn or Lauren Bacall. They would both play a kick-butt Rebecca. A little more modern, maybe not much more modern, but maybe Carrie Fisher. She would be a good Rebecca. Who would we cast as Rowena? I'll have to think on Rowena a little bit. And I can't cast Ivanhoe because we've spent absolutely no real time with him. Named after him, barely even seen him. Anyway, put your thoughts about casting the movie Ivanhoe with any actors in the world down in the comments down below. Please do hit the thumbs up on your way out, and I will see you guys Monday.